I'm live and I forgot to take the little thing off the camera. Okay, I'm like, I have a black screen. And then I need to go live on Instagram. Okay, so if you're new to us today, this is the Sci-Fi and Sunshine podcast. I am new to podcasting, so bear with me. I'm gonna do a dual thing where I'm on Instagram as well. Oh, what is going on with my hair today? Okay, it's a little wild. All right, here we go. Okay, hi, I'm live. Let's see. Okay, hi and welcome to the Sci-Fi and Sunshine podcast. I'm Bria, a speculative fiction author and a running mom. That's all I have for my intro right now, but stick around to the end because you'll get to hear what I came up with for my outro for the podcast. And I'm not going to keep walking. I've been walking. Let's see. It's telling me I've been walking for 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stop it because I don't know how loud it is, the walking treadmill on the other end, but stopping. Okay. It's really loud and distracting for me, but when I'm getting set up, I'm still moving with it. Okay. It stopped, but oh, good morning, everybody. It's a morning. This is my dear friend got me this. It made me so happy. Oh, here, Instagram, YouTube. See, okay. I need someone on Instagram to help me out because you can't show text. It's backwards for you. It's a mirror image. So when you're going live, unless someone is filming you, which I don't have a personal camera person, is there a way to make it so it's not a mirror image when you're doing, selfie version of going live? I don't know if that's a thing. Well, for those who can't read mirror image, it says, "May the 40s be with you." So it's my mug. I love it. I'll be sipping my little drink while I'm talking to you all this morning. Okay, so I wanted to get consistent like I talked about last week. This is only my third episode doing this Sci-Fi and Sunshine podcast. And I decided today you're going to get to know me a little bit more because I talked about the book that I'm reading called The God of Story by Daniel Schwabauer. Still reading that, still really enjoying it. It is so good. It's nonfiction, so it's not a quick read in the sense of I don't have it with me. I tend to highlight and underline, and I'm learning from what Daniel's wisdom from this book. It's kind of amazing. So I mentioned in episode 2 last week that I want to get him hopefully on this if I can figure this out. But again, on Instagram, I know you can you can allow someone to join your live, but if I start flashing his book cover, it's going to be reverse text. It's going to be mirror text. So I don't like that. There's got to be another way that people do this. So I'm learning. Bear with me. Thank you. So, okay. I'm also going to give, before I get into talking a little bit about me, and I put the little DNA in parentheses, we're going to actually talk about DNA. It's sciencey and science fiction-y. So it's on topic. I'm going to give a shout out again. Sorry, mirror text. YouTube, you can see this just fine. Author Allen Arnold. So he's another author who I don't read a ton of nonfiction, I got to tell you, but these are 2 nonfiction authors and Daniel writes fiction as well. Daniel Schwabauer, the other book I was mentioning, The God of Story. But Allen, I want to mention Allen specifically. Okay, he has got The Story of With. He's got Risk the Real, amazing books. I especially love Risk the Real because it's all about artificial in our current time, and artificial intelligence is obviously a facet of that, and he gets into that. He has some amazing quotes in here from thinkers from centuries past who say things. If I flip, I'm not going to find it, so I'm not going to try right now. But there's some of the thinkers from earlier centuries who just so poignantly address what we're dealing with today in our modern day of artificial intelligence, and I just appreciate that a lot about Allen and his books. So Allen Arnold, giving him a specific shout out today, also because when I saw him at a writers conference called Realm Makers this last July, so 2024 Realm Makers conference, he said to me, "You should start a podcast." And I was like, "Oh, I have the radio show. I do this radio show where I go to Clearwater and I chat and interview authors once a month for Sci-Fi Hour, I have a lot of fun doing that." And for whatever reason, he was very persistent, and he was like, "I think you need a podcast." And it stuck with me of like, do I need a podcast? I don't know. So, but here I am having a podcast. So shout out to Allen Arnold. Go pick up his books if you're a writer, or if you're just interested in things like just what's happening today. It's very apropos to our current times if you want to read Risk the Real, especially. And I have an interview that I did with Allen for Joy on Paper live on YouTube. Oh, my sister, my one fan, woo! Okay, hi, Risa. So this is how podcasts start, right? You have your family come to visit you on the podcast. Okay, so I was just saying, I did interview Allen Arnold. If you go to my YouTube, which I'm live on YouTube right now, so if you're here, you can go into my playlists, and hi, sister, that is right. You're my big fan. It always starts with family. I love it. Okay, so yeah, my YouTube channel is at Bria_Burton. So you know how you can type in like YouTube and then / at whoever the creator is. So that's mine, is Bria_Burton. So you can find me there. You can find my playlists with Sci-Fi and Sunshine in there. You can find, and you can subscribe. Tessa, more family is here to join me. Yay. I love you, Tessa. That's my cousin. So it's actually really, really appropriate that family is jumping in, because I'm going to get to this in a minute. I'm going to be talking about my DNA. And so like family members being in here is really fun. Okay. So, I have playlists on my YouTube channel. Tessa, heart to you too. Yes. So my Sci-Fi Hour has a playlist, and you can see Allen Arnold's interview that we did talking about his book, Risk the Real. It is a really good interview, if I do say so myself. Not because of me, because he's amazing, and like go watch him. Okay, so let me just get into it since I brought this little booklet. Okay, so I have to preface with like how my sister, Larissa, who's watching, we decided together to do 23andMe, and a bunch of our family, Tessa, I don't know if you've done it. Anyway, a bunch of our family was specifically doing 23andMe, including our grandma. And so we decided to go ahead and do it. And Okay, so I talk a lot about artificial intelligence because it's a topic that highly interests me. And I have a short tease, like if you look at my Facebook profile, oh no, I'm getting a warning. My connection is unstable. Okay, that's on YouTube. I don't know if it's on Instagram. Hopefully you can still, hi. Okay, so Cricket posts things, and it's my little avatar. I use the avatar from Meta, Facebook Meta. They let you create an avatar that looks like you. So that's the premise of this story that I wrote, this short story that came out back in 2021 about this AI hologram that doesn't behave the way she's supposed to. So it's very gimmicky, but I had her take over my Facebook profile. And it's so fun for me because I just post stuff about AI and sometimes how ridiculous it is. If you go look at my most recent post, you'll see what I mean. And I'm just Bria Burton. Oh gosh, on Facebook, what is my thing? I think it's like oh, you're still good. Oh, thanks, Risa. It's so helpful to have feedback. Thank you. I think it's at Bria Burton writer at briaburton.writer is how you can find me on Facebook, or just search Bria Burton and you'll probably find me, and you'll see this little avatar. It's a circle, this little face. This kind of looks like me, but not really. I don't know. Anyway, that's Cricket on Facebook. So go see what she posted recently, because it's pretty funny what is happening in the AI world these days. Okay, so I am very cautious about things like this, like DNA, cloning. Like, I don't want there to be clones out there in the world. I have opinions about ethics and about, I could probably get into all that another time. But I will say I was hesitant for a long time. And eventually I made the decision that I was interested enough. And I didn't do the health side of it where you can find out like, oh, here's all the diseases you're probably going to die from. I didn't do that side of it. I just did the ancestry side of it. So, okay, YouTube, I don't know how well you can see that. Okay. So this is a booklet that I got once I did you spit in this little, Larissa remembers, you spit in this little tube about 50,000 times so that you get enough spit, and then you mail it off to 23andMe. It's so disgusting. But anyway, so then they give you, I had it printed out. Initially, I printed out like all my results of like what my DNA was. And then I found out you could get a little booklet made. So I thought the booklet was kind of fun because it goes into things a little bit more. It even says like, what can spit tell us? Like, that's why they have you spit to get the info. And it all feels a bit sci-fi, you know, we're in this world now that people used to write about centuries ago. They were writing about things like cloning, and they were writing about things like DNA and genetic modification, and what could happen and what could go wrong. A lot of things could go wrong. And that's why I'm cautious. But to just get to what I'm actually here to talk about. And I told myself I'd only do like 15, 20 minutes. I'm at like 13 minutes. So my goal is to shut down at 20 minutes today. So thanks for tuning in. My sis and cousin. Okay. So, and it even says this book was printed on October 18th, 2022. So I did this also right after I had long haul COVID. One time I'll get into the long haul COVID story. I don't have the energy for it today. So it's a whole story. But I was fully and completely healed of it. It was a miraculous God thing in many ways. And this kind of tied into that of like, yeah, okay, here I am. I didn't die a slow death after all. I'm healed, and I'm not only healed, I'm better than ever in terms of like health and vitality, and feeling just so good ever since recovering from that. So this book, I got this right after that time. And just to jump into it. So I don't know, hopefully you can see these pictures, even though they'll be mirror images, there's no text. So this picture is it's like a map of where you're from. So this is the little circle that's like, here's Bria, and here's the percentage that she's like Western European, and then here's everything else. And then you can see the country. So, okay, YouTube, you get this image as well. Hopefully you can see it. Yes, okay. I know there is text over here, but anyway, I was just trying to show the highlights. So for the most part, it's like, wow, we're from a lot of countries. Like, so I have the Gomez side on my dad's side. So that's my maiden name, Gomez. And then my mom's maiden name, McFarland. So, there's quite a mix there. And even on my dad's side, his father came from Mexico. He was born in Guadalajara. And that all shows up in here. And what's so interesting, it shows up as Indigenous American. So like it comes up as Native American. It doesn't say anywhere on this like Mexican. So I'm assuming this is true. So if you're from Mexico, your DNA will show up as you're just from you're native to America. And there is they call it recent ancestry in the Americas. So this little circle is like the yellow part. That's the Native American, Indigenous American. And then when you look at the details, it says recent ancestry in the Americas. So that's where it narrows it down of where. And then it's Jalisco, Mexico, which is where my grandpa was born, in that state of Jalisco, near Guadalajara. So that's my dad's side. And then there's also a lot of Irish, and there's a lot of Scottish. I think Scottish is like my highest percentage. It's like Scottish, Irish, British, French, and German. So those are all my high percentages that are like this big blue. Mostly, there's different shades of blue, actually. I don't think you can see this very well. So that's the majority of what makes me super pale. So, and then there's Southern European. So that's Spain and Portugal, Greek and Balkan. So that's the Southern European. So that's actually another color. Okay. So let's see if I can highlight this. Oh yeah, you can kind of see it. So this is like the British, Tessa's laughing. I love you, Tessa. British, Irish, Scottish, like that's all up here. Spanish, Portuguese, and what did I say? Greek, Balkan, that's here. Okay, sorry, YouTube, you get to see it too. These are okay. And then there's another blue color, which is, I think they just say broadly European when they can't narrow it down, and the map kind of shows it on here like it's towards Sweden and Norway and some of those, like I'm calling it Viking ancestry. That's what I'm going with. Because I don't know. I think that's just fun sounding. Even though the Vikings didn't have the best reputation, but they kind of came around to, like, people love Vikings now. So anyway. Okay. And then the one that was the most shocking to me, because I had no idea until super pale. Oh, Tessa. Okay. I got to briefly talk about skin pigmentation, right? Some would call it a hot topic, right? Anyway, some of our cousins, so like Larissa, my sister, and I are quite fair-skinned, light-skinned, lighter hair. Like Larissa has more blonde than I do. And our sister Ani, so I have two sisters. Larissa is the oldest. Ani is our special needs sister. And then I'm the youngest. And so Ani has dark brown hair. And Larissa and I both have blue eyes. Dark brown hair. Ani has brown eyes. She is a little bit, she's not super dark, but her complexion is more brown than Larissa and I. And then we have a lot of cousins who are just like that. Tessa's family is like that, where she has a brother with blonde hair and her other sister has brown hair. She has brown hair. And it's like some of us don't even look like we're from the same family. Like I look more like another set of cousins, my cousins Anna and Tori, than I do my own sister Ani, who looks more like Tessa's sister Tara. So like the cousins have quite the interesting genetic pool. And I don't know. I think that's why DNA is so fascinating to me, because it is like an interesting thing how people end up looking the way they look, and then genetic dispositions of things like, okay, so like I don't highlight my hair. This is, I learned this from getting this, that it tells me in here that I have photosensitive there's a word. I don't know if photosensitive is the right word. There's a word for where you're in the sun and your hair just lightens up. So in the winter, and in Florida, it's not as much of an issue. But when I lived in Oregon and Washington for most of my growing up, my hair was really brown. And when I moved to Florida, it started changing, and I kind of didn't like realize it. I mean, I did, but I don't know. I didn't realize it was just because of the sun. Like, I don't know what I thought. So I don't know, just really interesting things about our makeup, about our design, and like, what does your DNA say about how you are? And I know we talked about the health part briefly. Okay, I'm already at the 20-minute mark. We're gonna wrap it up. The thing that was shocking me, I'm gonna get there, is Ashkenazi Jewish. I had no idea we were Jewish. Like, we have Jewish in our family. Who knew? Okay, so it's less than 1%. It's a very small percentage, but it shows up as this little green line. Okay, this little tiny green line. Where is it? It's like right in there. And then it shows like the Eastern European countries where the Ashkenazi Jewish culture, or, I would say it's not just culture, it's the DNA. It apparently originates from there, which I thought, okay, if you're Jewish, it would have to be like you're from Israel too. Well, that shows up as well. So, and I've learned a lot from this. Okay. So there is something called Levantine. I did not know that is the name of when you're from Israel, you're Levantine. And I think it's not just Israel. It's like some of the greater Middle Eastern. So also I have Levantine on there, which is Arab, Egyptian. Oh yeah, Egyptian too. And Levantine. And I actually have more of that than I have the Ashkenazi Jewish. And I don't know, these types of things just fascinate me, because growing up with my last name being Gomez, and Larissa probably dealt with this too, like, people would sometimes look double take when I would say my name, and they'd be like, really? Like, yeah. I mean, and that's just life. Like, we live in a wonderful melting pot country. Like, that's part of the beauty of our country. Anyway, the other one that was very interesting is this purple. Okay, this purple color right here, that is African. Okay, so sub-Saharan African, West African, which is, they specify Senegambian and Guinean, Nigerian, and then Congolese and Southern East Africa. So yeah, I have like again, less than 1%, but like, oh no, sorry, I have 1.1% sub-Sahara African, which is like fascinating. And Egyptian is obviously African as well, because Egypt is in Africa. But it's separated into its own. It's in the Levantine. Oh, no. Okay, everybody, I'm getting it now. Hold on. Arab, Egyptian, and Levantine is one category. And then I specifically have Levantine under there. So I don't think I'm Egyptian or Arab. Okay, I'm getting it. All right. So under that category of those three, I fall under the Levantine, which would be, I want to say, Israel, Syria, Jordan, like that area. Okay. And broadly Central and South Asian, there's like a tiny 0.% of that. So there's Asian thrown in there too. So if you don't know me at all, it's not like this tells you anything about me as a person, right? Like, this doesn't tell you my personality. This doesn't tell you what I enjoy, what I like to do. It doesn't tell you that I'm a running mom who is a writer and an author as well, and a really blabbery talker who's going on 25 minutes and I'm meant to only do 20. But I find things like that really, really intriguing, because because there's a story there. Like, there's a history, and the history of my ancestry, they do this little timeline in each of the, okay, again, sorry, Instagram, you cannot read these things, but they do a timeline of when in history your ancestors came from that area. And that's what really fascinates me, is like, okay, sometime in the 1700s, I had ancestors in Nigeria, in the Ashkenazi Jewish countries of Eastern Europe. And then in the 1770s, I had ancestry in the Levantine area, which I realize now does not include Egypt and Arab. It's Israel, Syria, Jordan, that area. Southern East African. So that was like in the 1700s. And then we get into almost 1800. I had ancestors in Senegambia and Guinea. Guinean. Oh, Guinean is like the person. Guinea is the country. In Greece and the Balkans. And then we get into the 1830s and this is the story that's being told. Like somebody in my family, in my ancestry, must have come to America at that time, because in the 1830s, actually it could be as far back as 1770. It's a range. It's a range. So somewhere between 1770 and 1860, our family, so Tessa, Larissa, our family came over from Europe or wherever they were. They were in Greece. They were in Africa. Wherever they were, they came over to America, most likely into Mexico. So there were family members at that time. And we know some of that story. Anyway, we do know about a specific ancestor, like a great grandparent who came over. And there's a pretty cool story to that we do know. And then the Spanish and Portuguese is more recent, like 1800 to 1920. That's the story. Like the family member who was from Spain, which is the story my grandpa always told, which is like a cool thing too, is that my grandpa would tell this, like, oh yeah, his great grandparents or whatever it was, or maybe it was his grandparents, came from Spain and they were wealthy landowners. And then there was a liaison with I think a servant a Mexican woman who worked in the household and on the property. And then that child was my grandpa's dad. And so like, yeah, so my grandpa would tell these stories, and this actually like points to that. Like, yeah, grandpa wasn't making it up. Like it really happened that way. So that's another reason. I'm also a little bit of a history buff. So I always loved hearing from my grandma, from my grandpa on both sides. Like my mom's side, my grandpa was in World War II in the Navy. And he had quite the stories as a 17-year-old kid who enlisted and pretended he was 18 and joined the Navy and served overseas on a ship in the Pacific. Like, these are the types of things. And his ancestry is much more the European side. And then the Gomez side is where you get all this range of countries from all over. And yeah, had no idea. I think a lot of our family had no idea until they did these DNA tests. So it kind of tells a cool story, and I love telling stories. So that's how this ended up. Okay. When I said 20 minutes, it's almost 30. I'm going to stop it there. You got to know a little bit about me and my DNA and my concerns that one day there may be a clone of me out there. And I really hope that's not true. I hope, because, did you all see the day when the entire board of 23andMe like up and quit? There was a whole thing. And it's like, those are the types of things, like you sign off all the documents that are like, yeah, we promise, like the company that you're saying, I'm going to send you my spit and you're not going to clone me and you're not going to save my DNA, you're going to destroy it. Like, I'm trusting you. Why do we trust these? I don't know. We probably shouldn't. But they had an entire, like their whole board resigned, or I don't even know exactly what happened there. But I remember seeing the headline and being like, yeah, I wonder what's really going on. And like, what are they doing with everybody's DNA? And not just them. I'm not going to pick on 23andMe. Obviously I use them and I appreciate the little book. But this is where the sci-fi speculative part of me comes in and says, okay, dystopian future, possible scenarios coming. So thank you for watching. I love that my sister and my cousin were here for this one. It was very appropriate. And that's all for now. As you venture through this sci-fi world we find ourselves living in, may you be the sunshine to the people around you today. Cheers. That's my outro. Okay, so I'm ending the stream now.